Top 5 Most Recent American Female Serial Killers. Number 5 Angela Flores, 2022. Angela Flores is the 38-year-old mother of 6 who lived in West Hills, Los Angeles, with 4 of her children. On the evening of 7th May 2022, Flores began acting erratically, going as far as trespassing into a neighbor's yards to light candles, wave a Bible about, and babble. One of these neighbors called the authorities and she was taken away to a hospital while she yelled, "Where's my Bible?" The following morning at 7:30 a.m., police arrived at Flores' home to conduct a wellness check after Flores' 17-year-old son asked a neighbor to call 911. Once on the scene, police discovered the dead bodies of 12-year-old Natalie Flores, 10-year-old Kevin Yanez, and 8-year-old Nathan Yanez. The children had been killed by what appeared to be blunt force trauma. Upon being questioned, Flores admitted that she had killed her children because she believed them to be demon-possessed and she was trying to exorcise them. She also stated that this was not the first time she had tried to rid them of their demons and that her 16-year-old son helped her do it. Flores is currently awaiting trial and is being held on $6 million bail. Her son has denied any involvement. Before we continue, hit the subscribe button. Number 4. Snoshia Mosley, 2018. Snoshia Mosley was a 26-year-old woman from Baltimore County. On the 20th of September 2018, she clocked into a job at a Rite Aid distribution center in Aberdeen, Maryland. Soon after that, at around 9 a.m., Mosley opened fire indiscriminately at those inside and outside the Rite Aid before shooting herself in the head. 2 victims died at the scene, whilst 2 others died from their injuries at a hospital, and many more were left injured. Mosley also died from a head wound at the hospital and so could not be tried for the murders. According to a close friend and authorities, a possible motive was that Mosley had been beset for years by mental illness as well as emotional turmoil related to a struggle with her sexual identity. Number 3. Retta Phyllis Mays, 2017 to 2018. Retta Phyllis Mays was born in 1975 in Reynoldsville in West Virginia. She was a United States Army veteran, but at the time of the murders, she worked as a nursing assistant at the Louis A. Johnson Veterans Medical Center in Clarksburg, West Virginia. In 2017, Mays was assigned to work overnight shifts and simultaneously, elderly patients began suffering mysterious acute drops in blood sugar levels and dying. Because of this, the hospital began an internal investigation of 11 deaths. The investigation was turned over to the FBI and Mays was fired from the hospital, whilst the 2-year-long investigation took place. It was discovered that Mays enjoyed researching female serial killers and watching Netflix series such as Nurses Will Kill. Ultimately, investigators found that during her time at the medical center, Mays would inject elderly patients with insulin so as to cause acute drops in their blood sugar levels and their eventual deaths. She did this in order to end their suffering and enable them to pass away gently. And she also noted that because of her tumultuous personal life, these murders gave her a sense of control. Even though there were up to 20 suspicious deaths in the time Mays was working, she was only charged with 7 second-degree murders and 1 count of intent to commit murder due to insufficient evidence for the other deaths. On 11 May 2021, Mays received 7 consecutive life sentences plus 20 years. She was also ordered to pay the victims' families $172,624.96. Her known victims, all veterans, were 84-year-old Archie Edgell, 82-year-old Robert Edge, 89-year-old Robert Colzo, 81-year-old George Shaw Sr., 96-year-old William Halloway, 82-year-old Felix McDermott, 88-year-old Raymond Golden, and 92-year-old Russell R. Posey. Before we continue, hit the subscribe button. Number 2. Miranda Barbara, 2013. Miranda Barbara is a self-confessed satanic serial killer who at the time of her last murder was just 19. In 2013, Barbara lured a Pennsylvania man named Troy LaFerrara, who she met on Craigslist, to Susquehanna Valley Shopping Mall with the promise of intercourse in exchange for $100. LaFerrara showed up and jumped into the passenger seat of Barbara's car before the pair drove 6 miles to Sunbury, Philadelphia. Unbeknownst to LaFerrara, Barbara's 22-year-old husband, Elite Barber, was hiding under a blanket in the back seat, and upon his wife's signal, he jumped up, restrained LaFerrara with a cord around his neck, whilst Miranda stabbed him 20 times. They then dumped his body in a residential backyard where it was discovered the next day. The pair were arrested and ultimately each given a life sentence, but what puts Miranda Barbara on the serial killer list is that after she was arrested, she admitted to murdering 22 other people. She stated that at the age of 13, she joined a satanic cult to escape from the sexual abuse she was suffering at home, and soon afterwards, the cult leader forced her to shoot a man who was indebted to the cult. Thereafter, she didn't stop killing until she was caught for the murder of LaFerrara in 2013. Before we continue, hit the subscribe button. Number 1. Kimberly Clark Science, 2008. Kimberly Science, also known as Kimberly Clark Fowler, is a former licensed practical nurse who was convicted of killing 5 patients at a Texas dialysis center by injecting bleach into their dialysis lines. In 2008, the clinic she was working at had an unusual spike in patients falling seriously ill during their treatment. Paramedics were called a record 30 times to the clinic in April 2008 alone. The owners of the facility sent one of their clinical coordinators to find out what was wrong after 2 patients had died of cardiac arrest in quick succession. 2 patients subsequently testified that they saw Science draw bleach solution into 2 syringes, then inject the substance into other patients' dialysis lines. This led to Science being confronted, under which circumstances she claimed she was cleaning an unused dialysis machine and used a syringe to get a precise measurement, a method that was contrary to company policy. Police were called in and the clinic was shut down for 2 weeks after several syringes used by Science tested positive for bleach. On March 31, 2012, an Angelina County jury convicted Science of murdering 5 patients and injuring 5 others. Science was sentenced to 5 concurrent terms of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole.